another reason that I really like Stomping Ground is it kind of goes back into like the mission of what Laura like started with. We bring kids from different populations together to play, to engage in conflict, which I can talk about more too. But we have kids who come from, the wealthiest backgrounds, and we have kids who come from nothing. Like their family cannot afford anything right now. And none of that like matters to us. All that matters is bringing these kids here. They show up and they're going to play in their most authentic forms. And through that play, the most beautiful thing happens is kids connect with other kids who they might not see in their school.
Hello and welcome to The Good Stuff. This week we are taking you to summer camp through the eyes of Daniel Swain Brown. He is camp director of Camp Stomping Ground. Camp Stomping Ground is a 2-week overnight summer camp nestled just south of the Adirondack Mountains. Their main camp program is for ages 6 through 14, and they believe in giving kids autonomy and space to play, learn, and live out their wildest, weirdest dreams. Daniel was nominated to be here featured on The Good Stuff by Saratoga Arts grant coordinator Spencer Sherry. In this conversation, Daniel and Spencer talk about his journey from being a camper to becoming the director. He discusses the importance of camps in providing mentorship and fostering connections among youth from diverse backgrounds. This conversation also delves into the innovative conflict resolution strategies employed at Camp Stomping Ground, emphasizing the value of learning through play and mistakes. Additionally, Daniel introduces Youth Squared, a program that empowers young people to take action in their communities, highlighting the significance of leadership and social responsibility. Enjoy the episode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Good Stuff. I'm Spencer Sherry, your guest host, and I'm here today with Daniel Swain Brown.
Hello. Hello.
Daniel, we're here wearing a couple different hats today, one of which is Camp Stomping Ground director. Repping there, but also for Youth Squared, which is a whole nother nonprofit organization that you guys just took over, right?
A whole different ballgame. We don't even know what to call it yet. When Laura, who's our founder and executive director of Camp Stomping Ground, the way that we've been describing it to people is it's our after school program, but that doesn't make sense because we're not a school program and we don't operate during the school season. So it's our after hours program. Yeah.
After general operating hours. Yeah. After the doors are shut everywhere else. How did you get involved in Stomping Ground? Because you're not from this area originally, correct?
No.
Yeah.
Do you want the long answer? Or do you want the speed it up Daniel answer?
Do you need to be somewhere?
No, absolutely not.
Then let's go long.
Oh my gosh. Well, you just cracked open a can of worms. So I've been involved in camps since I was 6. I'm 24 now, turning 25 in 2 months. And I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, where father passed away very young. Camp became a place that was my avenue for finding a father figure. So growing up not with a lot of money at all, my mom worked really hard to find different opportunities for me to be involved in, mostly camp, because my sister used to do camp a lot through Girl Scouts. So my mom hunted for scholarships. She couldn't work because she had a physical disability. My sister was still young, so we kind of in the nice ballpark for being able to get financial support. It's like boot camp. Every summer she would ship me off. It didn't matter if I'd never been to a camp before. Didn't matter. She never heard about it. She didn't need to talk to a single person in charge. She said, this church camp, go. She said, this YMCA camp in 3 states away. Have fun. If I see you in 3 weeks, that's cool. If you don't come back in 3 weeks, we'll find you later on.
Let me know. Yeah, let me know where you're at.
That went on until I was, a teenager, and then I could do counselor and training programs. But throughout this whole experience, there was never one camp that I went to my whole life. Just so it turned into camp for me being more about the experience, this idea of meeting new people, finding what a community can be, not necessarily a community, but broadening my horizons to what people can do for each other. Yeah, and get you
socialized too, right? And and introduce you to other role models and other adults and kind of see, were the structures the same?
Yeah. The ones that I went to were pretty similar. There were a lot of Y camps they're like almost brother and sister camps at most parts.
Okay.
You go to one and it looks the same breakfast to dinner wise, or like the counselors will be different, or the activities are different, or like little parts of the schedule will sometimes be flipped around. Whereas like in the morning, one camp might do specialized like camper activities where you can go do your own thing. And then in the afternoon, you're staying with your cabin, you're bonding, you're doing high ropes together. And then like the next Y camp will do the cabin activities in the morning, and then you're doing your specialized things at night. But other than that, a lot of camps I went to were the same. I think the ones that were like the biggest difference were probably the ones that were outside of like the Y bubble, like Bible camps or like church specialized camps. I think I'm not sure how, now that I'm in like the full-time role of camp and knowing all the ins and outs of insurance and all the things that we need to keep kids safe. But like a lot of the like Bible camps I went to had so few rules. There's one camp I went to in Michigan where one of the activities was called guerrilla warfare. And all the counselors painted themselves in like different colors. The guys were like shirtless, and they led you to a cornfield. It was like in Jurassic Park, where like the velociraptors were like you see the grass and you see like the group, and the velociraptors are like honing in on them. The game was literally counselors just pulling kids into cornfields. And like I can't remember if there was a capture the flag element or if there was an end objective. All I remember was it was like a horror movie.
It was the vibe being created.
It was wild, but it was like I remember it so fondly today, like the feelings I had during that game.
Right.
But other than that, like they're all pretty similar, I think, in what they want to do and what they accomplish in like the day-to-day aspects.
Became just a professional camp goer.
Yeah.
It was just summer times?
Just summer times. I think sometimes I went to like a weekend experience for like my like 5th grade class at the camp I never went to during the summer, but always summer guy. I could not, my mom refused to let me sit inside at home all day during the summer, which once I hit like 15, I was like, Mom, like, dude, just let me play my Xbox 360. Like, I'm playing Skyrim right now. This is the coolest game ever. And she was like, that's not happening. You're going back to camp for 4 weeks. And I'm like, all right, fine. And now that I'm older, I'm like, thank you, Mom. I needed that so bad.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. At what point did you start to realize that this was a career path for you? What did school look like for you?
That is a great question, and kind of goes into like the next part of my journey, I guess. Throughout high school, I started to get really big into theater. I think it was just the friend group I had. But I think partly because camp, I always like clung to the like singing and dancing activities where I'd perform in front of all the camp or like do a skit. I loved the feeling of people laughing at something I said, or people like applauding, or just like being amused by something that I could do with a group of people, even if it was in like a silly skit for like a minute. So when I met my like big friend group in high school, they were like, dude, we're gonna go work like crew on Fiddler on the Roof. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm super down. And I'll tell you, thinking back now, I didn't actually do anything. Like, I don't think the director actually knew I existed in the space. They never assigned me a task. I just kind of showed up. I was just kind of hanging out with the actors, and everyone was like, yeah, he's here. Sure, whatever. Like, I got out of class for like the performances. Like, they just like signed me notes, and I didn't do I wasn't giving out props or costumes. I was just sitting in the back room hanging out, and people were like, what's up, Daniel?
Just every 10 minutes, pick up a sandbag and just walk across the stage and then put it down. Like, just give thumbs up to random people.
Yep.
Yeah, you're supposed to be there.
I think during that time in high school, when I was like, I really loved theater. I like thought I wanted to be an actor because, like, you know, Hollywood, super cool. Like, why not go? I thought at 16 I could go like win the EGOT and like get all the, I don't even know how I was going to get a Grammy, but like I still can. That's a great point.
I've heard you do carpool karaoke. You can get that Grammy.
I could.
You got some pipes.
Dude, Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nope.
But in that time, I was starting to do like the counselor and training programs at camps. And I didn't know what they were, but my mom sent me and she said, it's another summer at camp, have fun. Little did I know, in the summer of 2017, I would meet one of the most influential people in my life. She was the camp there called it Leaders in Training, LIT. She was the person in charge of my program, similar to like how my staff do now for like the teens. But her name was Vivian, and she was one of the most warm and comforting people I've ever met. Someone that like could give you a hug just with her eyes. She like really understood what you believed in, what you wanted to do, and there wasn't a single no in her body. She was going to make anything that you wanted to do happen. I remember there was times that I would like goof around with the other like LITs and say something that was mean, and the way that she handled it wasn't like belittling or berating or like, you can't say that because that's rude. It was like a very deep understanding of like come on. Like you know,
right.
It was very friend-like, but she did it in such a way that like we respected her so much as a mentor.
Because she's treating children and teens like adults and like actual people. Right?
Yeah. There was something that she said that stuck with me that summer that I carried with me into like the idea of wanting to become a counselor and then what I do now. She said, no matter what you do in this world, whether it's camp related or something fully like different, do it with love and make every single other person you meet fall in love with the thing that you love too. Yeah. That's how to live a good life. Beyond anything she taught as counselor, that was like, wow. Like whether it's theater or whether it's camp or like anything I want to do in this world, like if I don't show people that I love it so much and like I want to share that love with you, then there's really no point in doing anything that we do. I think from there, I like finally connected the pieces that beyond like having fun in camp or doing these activities or playing archery and beating everyone else, working with kids that summer was like the first piece where I went, like this camp is something that means a lot to me. It's something that I grew up in. I needed, whether it was a father figure or positive male role models. And I now have the ability as a 17-year-old to go, I could do that for someone else. And I want to do that for someone else. In the same, like share my love that I like believe to this day, like I wasn't in a position in my life where I should have had those opportunities. My mom created those for me with these people in camps. And like the idea that there could be one kid out there like me that might need someone like me. Like I didn't want to risk not doing camp. So as a counselor, I started in 2019 after I graduated high school, worked at this camp all the way in Michigan, and then went back to the camp that I was an LIT at from like 2020 to 2022. Met my current fiance, Liliana.
We love Liliana. Shout out to
incredible.
Liliana.
And from that point, this is kind of how we like learned about Stomping Ground. But from that point in 2020, me and Liliana met and we like really connected on like a yin and yang approach. She was so great with younger kids and like this like really deep-centered mom approach. And I was like I love being on stage. I'm doing wacky things. I'm planning crazy activities, mainly teen focused.
Right.
And I told Liliana like something that was happening those 3 years was I was watching all of my friends, this really strong friend group in camp, all go to find their like big boy, big girl jobs. And they were like, I can't do the next summer because I have to go get an internship. And I was like, here I was getting a theater degree thinking that was going to be like the most impressive thing in the world. And I was like, what's an internship? Like this is, you're not going to do camp when you're 23? Like, what do you mean by that? Yeah. So I kind of like hit this hurdle the year I met her of like, am I behind or am I doing something wrong? But then I kind of realized like, okay, but my friends are going to go pursue something that they love. The thing that I've loved so deeply in my life is camp.
It's here.
What if that's the career path for me? What if that's what I want to do? And Liliana was the like biggest person in my life that said, if it is true, then we need to go prove it. So we took a huge risk. We left the camp that we were working after the summer ended, and we went like halfway across the country. We just went on this mission to go try different camps to prove it was the love for camp, not just like the camp.
Not the one that you were in.
So we worked in a camp in California. And within like the first few days of staff training, I was like, yeah, it's camp. It is camp for me. I love camp so deeply. Seeing not only what it could do for kids, but then working as a village director at that new camp, I like saw it in staff. And I saw for 18-year-olds what camp can do and like how it changes them when I can show up for them. And I was like, dude, it's the full picture of the magic camp can create for everyone.
I was going to ask what, as you're making this transition from camper to counselor, what are some of the things that maybe caught you by surprise or, about making how things ran? Like when you peek behind the curtain and go, oh, this is the work that comes with this. Or this is how they keep the wheels on,
Laura, we just went on a marketing trip to Philly and we had like 5 hours in the car together, me, Laura, and MK. MK's our operations director.
We also love MK.
MK's incredible, and so
cool.
is Laura. But one thing I was talking about with them was the first summer I was a counselor in 2019, there was this moment where none of the directors were present. It was just the counselors and kids. And it was like a rainy day and we were trapped in this lodge. And I remember the kids like were like kind of aimlessly wandering, not doing anything. But it felt like there was supposed to be something that happened. And I remember like we as counselors got together and we were like, guys, is there supposed like what are we supposed to do right now? And no one knew what to do.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I went, oh, wow, camp is like, we're all just kind of making it up here. Like, it doesn't matter what level we're in. Like, as a camper, I thought everything was like super like programmed out and super detailed. And like the counselors were like gods and they knew how to do everything at every moment. And here I was, an 18-year-old with like these experienced 24-year-old counselors. And they were all like, guys, what are we going to do? These kids are bored. But the kids didn't feel that.
Right.
Like what I felt when I was a kid. But like that transition
anybody older than you is just... They know everything. They're in charge. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep.
There was a probably less respect and more fear. I remember from me as a kid looking, even as a second grader, looking up to a fifth grader. You know, and being like, "Don't mess around with the older kid." Like, yeah, absolutely, whatever I'm told. But it's you've learned that lesson, I think, earlier than through that environment than just being an adult in the world where you go, oh, nobody has any idea what's going on.
Yep.
Everyone's faking it a little bit and figuring it out.
That's what Laura says all the time is there's no real adults in the world. And I think when we, like in any job we do and like during the summer when you get hit with like something that's super tricky and you're like, I don't know how to work through that. Our natural response in jobs is to be like, I'm going to send this to my boss.
Right.
But then you hit a position in places where you're like, I can't go up any higher.
Right.
Laura doesn't necessarily deal with this issue. I got to figure it out. And sometimes you're like fumbling through it.
Right. Yeah.
But that was the moment for me in camp. I was like, wow, like we're just making this
children
improv,
babysitting
man.
children. Yeah.
You know something that we love here at The Good Stuff? It is a leadership development program, and not just any leadership development program, a leadership development program specifically for girls. That's why I am so proud to share that Girls Inc. of the Greater Capital Region is one of the sponsors of The Good Stuff. Girls Inc. of the Greater Capital Region started in 1937. And since then, they have been empowering girls to reach their full potential, providing mentorship and life-changing opportunities for girls in Albany, Schenectady, Troy, especially girls that face real barriers like bias, trauma, and girls who have limited access to opportunity. From STEM-focused after-school programs to college and career pathways like the Eureka program, Girls Inc. is preparing girls not just to succeed, but to lead. And here's something we love. 83 cents of every dollar goes directly to programming, creating impact where it matters most, because when girls rise, communities rise. To learn more, to support their mission, or to get involved, head to girlsinccapitalregion.org. That's girlsinccapitalregion.org.
So how did you find Stomping Ground then?
So after the same summer of when we went to California, our summer had ended early August, and me and Liliana were about to fly back to Indiana to I was going to start my junior year of college, and she was going to do her sophomore year. And I think a few days before we flew back, this camp in Washington reached out to my camp director there and said, hey, we have a few more weeks of camp. We really need some staff. Do you know anybody who'd be really good at this? And is not burnt out and can come put in some 2 weeks and just vibe up our camp. And I remember seeing our camp director text everyone in our group chat that, and I looked at the person I was working with and I said, it's not going to be me. I'm going to go home and I'm going to rest. And then I remember seeing Liliana walk up to me and say, hey, I just volunteered us to go work at this camp in Washington. And I was like, all right, Liliana, let's do it. And I was I kind of got hyped the night we were looking at the camp and we were like, oh, this is super cool. It's it was the whole point of what we were doing in the first place. Let's just do it again.
Right.
So we went there. We, the executive director, his name was Scotty Jackson. This camp was called Camp Seymour, which the person who had my job before, Maddie, she was from that camp.
Oh, okay.
And the executive director met with us and took us out to dinner, and he was listening to our story, me and Liliana's, about this couple wanting to go try all these different camps, see what camp looks like. And I had this idea of starting my own camp one day for kids, whether it was kids in performing arts who just need like funds, and like we could figure it out for them.
And he was like, I remember a story very similar to this a couple of years back.
Yep. He said that word. He literally said that word for word. Like, I remember this other couple who like came to our camp and like they were traveling the world. Their name is like Laura Kriegel, and like they started this camp in New York called Camp Stomping Ground. And we heard about that, and we weren't there yet in terms of like, oh, let's go like look at that. I think Liliana followed them on social media. We left it there. We finished out the 2 weeks there, went home, regular year happened. Then in 2024, we wanted to go to the other coast. We were like, dude, the West Coast hype. But like now we're kind of using camp as this excuse to travel and see different coasts.
Yeah.
What if we work on the East Coast and like try a camp in like Maryland on the Chesapeake Bay? So we worked at a Y camp out there. Didn't necessarily feel the like it was the right fit for us. So due to like some other complications, like Liliana's father passed away middle of the summer. That was the first camp we ever left early. But after that summer ended, I kind of like hit this like reflection on what camp meant to me. And I started to, I think, lose the magic of what I had as a camper, and like started to think like, okay, this journey we've been on, we've been looking for this perfect, we knew what we were looking for, this perfect camp. And I think our expectations could have been too high, but I hit this like, I don't think we're ever going to find it. I'm getting older. Like, am I running out of time?
I'm getting older at 22.
At 22 years old.
Oh, I'm deteriorating. I've only got a couple years left.
I was like, dude, I'm about to graduate like college.
Right.
Am I supposed to find like the career path for me if it's not going to be camp? Like, I also think camps, traditionally camps tend to hire, especially like a camp director within. It's somebody who's done the job for multiple summers.
Knows the environment.
Yeah, knows the staff. It's a very hard thing to go into a camp and do that when you've never been there before. And Liliana saw on social media, like, during that like whole rediscovering my 22-year-old self mental crisis I was going through, Camp Stomping Ground was hiring a camp director. And I was like, I remember her telling me one night, like, either you're going to apply or I'm going to put your resume in for you and forge your signature on this application, which I did apply.
That's
one
what
night.
fiancés are for.
If she, I don't think if she didn't threaten me with that, I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably would never got around to it. But I remember filling out the application, and I was like, you know what? Worst case scenario, they're going to hire somebody within or like somebody else, and I at least get to meet this person who might re-spark my love of camp.
Sure, yeah.
And the best of both worlds happened. I got to meet this incredible people.
Yeah.
And I went through multiple interview processes and got this job, and then we moved out to New York. But it's funny because me and Laura reflect a lot on like how similar our stories were in terms of like just taking a chance in camps as a whole and learning from them. And then this vision of like starting our own camp that like for me also started in this idea of like, I think camp should be more affordable for kids because that's how it was for me. Yeah. Not everyone can afford, $3,000 for 2 weeks. And conveniently enough, the camp that I envisioned starting, especially even in like the arts world, is what Laura created. So it was like I had a vision, and somebody kind of already like kickstarted that process. Like, why don't I just hop on this project? And it's so experimental. It's so open to change, and just the kids, and seeing so many camps that like had a big focus on like our programming is top notch and nothing is allowed to change from that. Yeah. Like the kids need to kind of fit in this bubble. It was so refreshing hearing from the staff at this camp of like, we'll change everything for these kids. We'll stop our programming. We'll every day we're asking the kids, what do you want to do? And that's the schedule tomorrow. I had never heard of something like that in camp. And I was like, but that's what I always knew camp could be from my childhood. So long story, that's how I am here now.
So you kind of already touched on a couple of these things, but what about the mission of Stomping Ground and the execution of that vision made you say yes to it? What is so different about Stomping? Because I know that they are like, as far as camps go nationally, they're renowned in the summer camp space. And so what about them has that thing?
It is a few things. The first one I want to touch on again that I kind of said is we operate financially just on a very different like level, I think. Yeah. In terms of like a lot of camps have scholarships or programs that you can send your kids to. Like my mom had to send in like W-2 forms or tax forms or her proof of income, and there's a lot of steps that parents have to take just to apply for a scholarship so they're not breaking the bank.
Yeah, a couple $100 off their tab.
Yeah. One of like my favorite parts of my job is we operate on it's called a trust-based sliding scale. And our whole model on camp is trust, for trusting our kids and our staff staff and like families trust us with just this experiment of camp. But all families typically have to do is reach out to me on an email or a phone call and say, hey, Daniel, like we're kind of going through a medical thing right now, or like we're just like $2,750 for this 2 weeks is kind of a lot right now. Could we do half? And it is as simple as me saying, yeah, we can. And that is it for families. There's no extra stress. There's no extra steps. It is a huge, like, just weight off their shoulder. I can feel it on the phone calls. Yeah. And it's just great to be able to do something like that and not have to, I think, add the extra steps of, I don't know how to check tax forms and all that stuff.
Seems like enough money to me. Okay.
That's good. But I think that's a really big thing. And I think through that, another reason that I really like Stomping Ground is it kind of goes back into like the mission of what Laura like started with. We bring kids from different populations together to play, to engage in conflict, which I can talk about more too. But we have kids who come from, the wealthiest backgrounds, and we have kids who come from nothing. Like their family cannot afford anything right now. And none of that like matters to us. All that matters is bringing these kids here. They show up and they're going to play in their most authentic forms. And through that play, the most beautiful thing happens is kids connect with other kids who they might not see in their school. And I think that is like the biggest, issue going on in our society right now is that people are so kind of condensed into these like social bubbles where you put yourself around people who are like-minded or are in your same like financial status or like different like areas that you're not kind of mixing your cultures or your.
And when they're kids too, it's not even in their control. It's their parents, right? Yeah. It's just like where their standing is, whether it's financially or geographically. It's like they can't control that. So it's really, you're literally putting them all on the same playing field.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then just letting them go and removing those, and everyone's doing the same stuff, and you give all of them the inspiration and creativity and imagination to just make the experience whatever they want.
And on top of that, like kids today are so wrapped up in social media. I'm 24 and I woke up today. My first thing I did was check Twitter. I'm looking at how everyone's reflecting on the Super Bowl halftime show, and there's so many pockets of social media I think kids can fall into. Yeah. Whether it's a social media influencer who has something in common with them, that then they start to absorb that social media influencer's beliefs or like how they feel a perfect man should like show up in the world. And then kids come to camp with sometimes this like hardened viewpoint on a specific group of people, whether it's like Latino culture or like Black culture or LGBT communities. And I think what is really beautiful that happens at Stomping Ground is like how we navigate that conflict that's going to happen between communities. Sure. We're just giving kids the space and support to meet somebody from a community that they might not have ever engaged with before, or they might have been told like this community is not good. Like you shouldn't ever like talk to this community. They're seeing a kid who's just like them play from that community, and they're going, you're not bad. Like the world is telling me to believe that you're bad. You're just a kid and you're just going to play with me and have fun. And sometimes they get into conflicts, and sometimes they'll disagree on things, whether it's viewpoints or like actual like beliefs or, but then the goal of what we do at Stomping Grounds is every kid has the opportunity to sit down and talk through that conflict. And we're not teaching them that, your disagreement is a bad thing, but like, talk to that person if they hurt
there's
you.
a process, right, which is a healthy way to engage in conflict and disagreement. So it's like it's okay to not be on the same page as someone with your beliefs, but like how you respond to that, how you react is different. So how do you guys as two-part question.
Yes.
You as director, counselors, educators, you, Laura, MK, all that whole group of people are, quote unquote, the professionals at this, right? But every summer you hire 50 to 60, older children to babysit the younger children, No, I know that a lot of counselors are, 17, 18, 19, like kind of that, like college age range. So what is the standard by which you guys as the leaders say this is how we manage this conflict and shepherd these kids through these experiences? And then how do you make sure that there's consistency among these college kids that you're bringing in to impart that kind of same process?
Oh, that is a really good question. So it all starts with what we're going through right now and like my day-to-day, although I don't hire, I'm not the like person in charge of our hiring process. That's MK. But I have a hand in hiring our staff, and I have a hand in like every decision we make in hiring. How our process is really unique. Basically, every counselor that we hire goes through like 2 interviews between the 3 of us. And after those 2 interviews, we have a hiring like committee. The 3 of us get together and talk about everyone we've talked to at that point. And like we decide like, yeah, this person's like absolutely like fit for Stomping Ground, or like maybe they need a 3rd person to talk to, or, maybe it's just not this summer for them. And we're like very intentional about the questions that we're asking in those interviews. I think, I love the rounds that I do for my interviews. I do second interviews. And a lot of my questions are like really diving into what each person who's applying for the job like believes in and like how they would navigate things. And something that I really carefully focus on in my questions when I'm talking about like our circle system or our restorative like model is that it's, as a counselor, it's your job to keep everyone safe and supported, regardless of who is quote unquote a like the aggressor in a situation or the victim in a situation. Like if something's happening, 2 kids are going through a really heated conflict, you have to keep both kids feeling that support, or else then a kid's going to feel like they're a problem, or they're not going to understand the harm that they've caused. They're just going to feel like everyone's kind of dogpiling on them. And a lot of that is like breaking down, okay, so what are the signs you're looking for right now before anything's ever happened? How are you supporting that kid, or like reframing how they approach something, or like mentoring them before like a big conflict happens? How are you supporting the kids in the middle of like an actual circle when, the kids who have been harmed are like, we want this kid to go home. They've said something really harmful to us. But then how are you, supporting the kid who said something, but they're like really shutting down? You can tell they're like defeated. There's nobody on their side here right now. And then like the next step is, if our model at camp works, and if the kid who said something really like takes that to heart and like is like, wow, I really caused harm and I said something that was hurtful to this person, and I apologize. I'm seeing the thing that I did, and I'm not going to do that again. We've made agreements. We moved on. How are you going to continue supporting that kid in their growth, but then the kids who still felt like, wow, was I wrong? Because in like school, if somebody says something to me, they go home, or like they're going to get suspended. But here, you're showing me a different model. You're showing me that sure, this kid might have changed and apologized to me, but like traditionally, that's not how it works. This kid in my head should not be here anymore.
Right. But that's not how life works.
Yeah.
It's not how workspaces work. It's not how communities work. People don't just go away. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And that is, I think, the biggest aspect of what we push for when we're training our staff on this is, our circle system has like a very XYZ. Here are the 4 questions you're going to ask. Here's the outline. You could just do that, check your box and say, all right, the kids had a conflict. I talked to them. We talked about what happened. How did you feel? What do you need? We made agreements. Everyone shook hands, apologized. All right, my circle's done. I checked the box. But what we're really pushing for in our staff is almost something that a lot of camps don't necessarily do. And I think that's why Stomping Ground has kind of a bigger impact in the camp community. A lot of camps will see their programming as just like, you're just going to come to camp for a week and you're going to get back in your car the same way that you got, like you stepped out of your car. You might have learned a better skill in archery. You might have discovered a new food, but like our counselors aren't going to try to like change your mind on anything. Right. Like we don't have any space here for like your views or your like different opinions. Like you're just here to play the activities and you're going to make some friends and you're going to go home. But at Stomping Ground, we recognize that like camp can be a space for kids to like discover what their views are out in the real world, or discover how they're going to navigate things. It's like a little science experiment of like, let this 2 weeks be your place where you can like feel the anger of the world or feel the frustrations of something happening, and
have a dose of like real connections and environments and strangers and meeting Yeah.
And I think the big push that we have for our staff is one, in building trust with kids. Like no kid is going to want to work through conflict or like through a tricky situation if they don't trust somebody. Sure. If there's nobody in their corner to like say, hey, I get where you're coming from. That's kind of hurtful, man. like, I fully understand what you're saying to me. And like, I understand, like, I don't want to like tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't do, or like how you should show up in the real world, like outside of here, like that's your thing. But like, I want you to understand that you did hurt somebody by saying that. You did hurt somebody by denouncing their identity. Like, it caused harm to somebody. It's jeopardizing their camp experience, and they're pretty frustrated with you. So like, yeah, you believe that, but you did make an impact on somebody in a really harmful way. What are you going to do with that now? Are you just going to kind of wait out the rest of your camp time here in the week and recognize that this kid is
weird and
mad
awkward for a week and a half as you run into each other 5 times a day?
Or are you going to find a time with me maybe, or maybe by yourself, to talk to this kid and like really find common ground, maybe repair. You might not be friends at the end of it, but you might feel better. You might learn something, or they might learn something. But like, are you going to do something about this issue that you may have created, or this like impact that you had on someone? That's what we push our counselors to do, is like that real conversation through trust, not sugarcoating it. It's like, it's a harmful thing you did, you know?
Yeah. Like your kids, but the emotions are real, and the impact of the emotions are real, because we're all just people. And so you need to, the sooner you learn how to be able to manage and deal with those things, just the better adults you're going to be and create. So do you guys think about that in your mission? Like, this is a rehearsal for adulthood?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I come from just like I talk to Laura about this so much, this like ingrained YMCA background of the YMCA camps work pretty black and white. I think they have some avenues of different, like how they could navigate, but usually in the YMCA, X action equals Y consequence, whether that's, you getting sent home, a counselor getting written up, like certain things just don't fly in a lot of camps that I've worked in. And I think this past summer was such a learning opportunity for me to like hold on to a lot of things that I still believe in, but like rewire my like, wow, that is actually that could be just a training moment for kids, or a teaching moment. Laura is really big on this book right now about, it's called The Anxious Generation. And one of the things that they talk about in the book is this like concept of discovery mode. And I think what a lot of parents do with their kids, like in the generations now, is they're very protective. There's a lot of harm in the world right now. And you read about it on any like news source about, I sent my kid to this childcare place and something happened to them. They placed trust in an adult and the adult broke the trust, or they got injured, or, they broke their legs because the adults just weren't paying attention. So there's a lot of like intentional like worry that parents have about like something like a summer camp for 2 weeks, whether they've been a camper or not. You don't necessarily know the people. You're not there with your kids. So I think the way that parents kind of prep their kids or like show up for their kids is putting a lot of guardrails on nowadays, of like, no, you shouldn't even get close to the cliff because you're going to fall down the crevice. And I think what the Laura's book talks about a lot is we're trying to make this shift back to the discovery mode for kids, in terms of, the little child sees something off in the distance. They want to go push the button. Why not let the kid push the button? And if it, results in the kid fell into a pit of mud, for some reason it was a trap door, the kid's going to learn, maybe I should not push that button. But like, the kid is going to understand that a lot more than me walking up to them before they even get to that button and going, do not push that button. You're going to fall in a pit of mud. And the kid's going to go, okay, so thanks.
Yeah. Now
I want to push the button because you told me not to do it. Something that we really care about at camp is kids like learning through play, but also like learning through their mistakes, and like making mistakes by making mistakes. Right. And there's so much like discovery from that. I think, when we were kids, you can probably think back to like when you're on the playground, you're swinging from the monkey bars, and you probably, I remember like I would try to leap from one to another. I couldn't hold on, and I certainly learned that lesson. Maybe, I hurt my butt one time, and I went home and I was crying to my mom, and my mom said, well, now you know not to do that again. And I was like, that's a good point, Mom. I think with all that too is like at Stomping Ground, we put up like the right safeguards so that kids aren't going to like injure themselves or break their legs. But we call it like a sandbox. Within the sandbox we create at camp, there's all the rest of the toys. And it's like, go in the sandbox, figure it out. And you might learn that you don't want to do this thing or that you didn't like this thing. You might discover something that you would have never tried if you had to do it in a structured way. But here are like 50 tools. Now, by the end of the 2 weeks, go see if you can love 5 of them and go learn if there's 5 that like, I'm never touching that again because that metaphorically shocked my finger and that I don't like that anymore. So I think that is like at Stomping Ground what we're trying to do more of is like swing that pendulum back to the discovery mode for kids, and not a lot of the like, no, little Jimmy, like you can't go do that. I don't want you to, we're not going to stay up till midnight tonight because you're going to be tired tomorrow. Obviously they know that. Like if I'm in a cabin, it's like, well, let's stay up until midnight tonight and then the kids will be tired tomorrow. And then the kids get to decide we don't want to stay up till midnight anymore because God Almighty, we're tired and now we're cranky.
Right.
They get to decide that.
Yep. And this also could be me projecting a little bit, I realize now. But I mean, I remember when I was younger, like they're being told in ahead of time why not to do something and don't do the thing. And then when inevitably the curiosity that you would have had anyway kicks in and you try it and they were correct and you shouldn't have done the thing and the mistake happens and you either feel the emotional or physical consequences of that, you also now feel resentment for being told that you can do the thing. And so figuring out on your own almost is a softer, more, I don't know, more productive way of learning the lesson than also having that little piece where you're like, oh, I never told me they were right. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And for us, it falls right back into that, like the idea of conflict. Why we focus on conflict so much is that Laura, in her like research of camps and like childcare spaces, one of the big things that she found and like the 3 things that she kind of like founded camp on was that our society views conflict as negative. The idea of feedback scares us. Yeah. Like if you're a boss in a place or, you know, like in a middle management position and like someone comes to you and says like, oh, this employee isn't doing something, where a natural response typically for most people is like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to convey this message to them? Are they going to hate me? Are they going to like start to resent me as a boss? And like that's a different type of like conflict, but just naturally the idea of conflict is like frowned upon. And like if we have a disagreement, you should just get over it or we shouldn't talk about it because it's just going to result in negative feelings or negative emotions or just kind of all that. But at camp, the like coolest thing to watch, and like we have this, you've seen it, like the downtown Stomping Ground area. It's this place where we have like a barn and this hammock grove and an adventure playground where kids dig this hole for no reason. We have a gaga pit. I
love the hole.
Kids just like wander this space and they're staff supervised at every place. So it's not like they're ever unsupervised. That is a place where like conflict can happen because kids just get bored.
Right.
And I think one of the coolest parts of my job in the summer versus now is I work directly, we call them pandas because pandas are the most nurturing animal in the jungle, but they're like village directors. They oversee each village of kids and staff. One of the things that I teach my pandas a lot is you're going to see something. You're going to notice something with kids where there's a conflict brewing. And our natural defense as like mothers and fathers and caregivers is to stop it before it happens.
Yep.
You're like, I do not want you guys to throw hands because XYZ. Now, physical violence is like something that we don't allow at camp.
We do want to nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
To a degree. Right. Yeah.
But like the red flags that you see in like, this is going to cause an argument. I push my pandas who are, 18, 19 years old who are like, we should stop that right now so we don't have to worry about it later. I tell them, let it happen sometimes. Watch, supervise it, be careful, make sure you're there when one of them needs support, make sure we're following up with kids. If they have a disagreement that's very openly in a village or in a cabin, don't just like assume that they handled it on their own. Like go check in on those kids. We never want a kid to go home feeling like unresolved in a situation, but like let the kids make the mistake of, hey, like Spencer, right now, I hate you, man. Like you just did something early. You stole the last chicken tender and I'm kind of mad at you right now. It's like, all right, see how you guys kind of navigate that. Because that's how kids are going to learn how to advocate for themselves is through just kind of experimenting or like figuring out what works for them. It's like homesickness is such a big issue in camp. And parents ask me all the time, like, how do you handle homesickness? What's your like 14 magical tricks that's going to make it go away like that? Yeah. And I always tell parents like, it's so normal in camp. There's no like magic wand. Like Liliana, who works with young kids, is so good at like this, we call it like the illusion tricks of homesickness, where we'll tell a kid that like a specific teddy bear is like the help you sleep bear, and like if you hug him real tight, then you'll fall asleep with no problems. And you do that with a 16-year-old, they're gonna look you in the face and go, "What are you talking about, dude? Get that teddy bear away from me." But our biggest like tactics for homesickness is just telling the kid, "Yeah, like I feel you, I understand. Like I'm also away from home. I fully get you. Like, would you like to talk about it? No, that might, sprawl up a little bit more things. All right, that's cool. We don't have to talk about home. And this is going to be a hard thing to navigate for the next few days. I'm here for you, and I'm going to be by your side this whole time. And we're going to get through it, and we're going to have a great time. We're going to make little goals, but there's no like big magical thing. It's a kid navigating a thing, learning how to advocate on their own. They're going to make mistakes through that. Sometimes we'll let a kid maybe call home and like check in, and the kid will learn, wow, that did not help my homesickness. Now I'm even more homesick because I just talked to mom and I want to go home even more. But we're letting the kids try the things. Yeah. And so we're just going to say yes. And sometimes that'll result in the negative effect. Sometimes it'll result in the good effect. But the kid now gets to figure out what to do with that next step. We don't have to decide that for them. And that's how we hope to just build a better like community.
I mean, I've seen that firsthand out there, and it's amazing visiting camp in the summertime and just seeing the environment that you've created and the occasional chaos. And there's just kids walking around everywhere doing and there's so many different activities, but the whole time it feels so supported. And again, I'm walking around. I'm like, there's a counselor there. Okay, there's a counselor over there. But it really is like a little microcosm that they just kind of run things themselves, and it feels very free. And so, I mean, I'm continuously blown away by what you guys have accomplished out there, and then that tone that you've set that works.
It might happen after school, in the car ride home, when your kid tells you about something they did that day, and you realize just how proud you are of them. And sometimes you wish the whole world could see it too. All across the capital region of New York State, kids are doing pretty amazing things. They're donating to charities, volunteering with local nonprofits, winning national competitions, creating art that ends up in museums and even on billboards. Others are competing in statewide chess tournaments, leading community projects, or finding small ways to make a big difference. But a lot of those stories don't always get the recognition they deserve, and we want to change that. If you know a student who's doing something good, here's how to nominate them to be featured on our show. Send us an email at thegoodstuff@brightsighted.com or post on social media and tag us at Brightsighted Media, because every kid doing good deserves to be seen.
So that being said, now Youth Squared comes along. And so your job, which was, all right, I got 8 weeks of camp and then I have the rest of the year to relax, plan, digest. Now there's a whole nother nonprofit involved where you've gone from 8 weeks to 52 weeks out of the year. So how do you tell me about Youth Squared and what that transition has been like for you?
Man, it has been incredible. So U Squared was founded a while ago by a local community member named Beverly Lazar Davis, who she worked in social work, and through her work there, she wanted to create this an organization that fully just involved her vision of giving kids voices and the ability to make change in their community. So she started U Squared, which stands for Youth Helping Youth. And it is it's so funny. I've been trying to explain it to new members who I've been interviewing. But it is a core social action group of kick butt high school, middle schoolers who just look at their community and they decide that I don't feel right about this, or I see people who need help. And then they get to decide with funds and with resources and mentorship from adults in our community, how are we going to put our like our mark on this community? How are we going to put our mark on this issue that's shaping our nation or shaping the community right now? Whether it's like food insecurities or like they did a walk for Ukraine, which was a really big thing that they did a few years ago. But it is like her vision was fully giving kids the resources to just do whatever they want. That is, to shape social action, to shape our community and to make an impact.
It feels like a graduate program
Yep.
for Post Stomping Ground mission already, right? It's like we bring them in, we teach them how to engage with each other and how to communicate, how to solve conflict. And now that they can bring those skills back to their communities and the world and look around, then we give them resources to actually change things and not just expose them to the realities of the world and their environment, but like, okay, now what do you want to do about it?
Yeah. Bev retired, and in that retirement, it was a lot of talks with Laura before, like I even started working here of, she knew she couldn't do it forever, but she wanted the organization to live on and keep the mission strong, but also like evolve and expand. And I know Laura and Bev, like they met a few years ago, and ever since then, they've just had such a strong love and connection for what each other do. And the missions are, like you just said, they're so
complementary,
similar. Yeah. When she retired in September, I remember Laura came to me. We were like re-looking at my contract after the summer and like discussing what I like doing. Is there anything that I wanted to add on? And I remember something that I mentioned to her back in the spring of last year was I like care a lot about bringing leadership opportunities to kids. As one of those kids who didn't have resources at all, but like through random adults just saying, hey, here's an opportunity, make something of it. Like I was able to become who I am today. Like I wouldn't know camp. I wouldn't be a camp director if it wasn't for other people in my community who just believed in me and believed in kids. So when this opportunity came to Laura of like, wow, we could inherit U Squared and kind of like help shape it grow, she like came to me and was like, Daniel, I think that you're the right person for this. Because one, it was funny, we had a U Squared holiday party Saturday night, like 2 nights ago. And the thing that I mentioned to the kids of why I want to do U Squared and why I like keep doing it is because for our job is in 2 parts, like you said. For part 1, it is like the most awesome 3 months. It's like nonstop. I'm walking out my door. I'm like right where I live. Like my bed's right here. I walk out the door right here. All of a sudden, all of camp's right there. Kids are loud. I'm being radio 24/7. It's like the coolest job ever from like 7 a.m. to like midnight at night every night for 8 weeks straight.
Because you're in it. Your job is still going to camp and being there for the full experience.
And before U Squared, the other 9 months of the year is like a lot of admin stuff, hiring people. Like right now I'm hunting for nurses. So we're doing that stuff. We're building staff training. We're feedback stuff. We're creating staff handbooks. It's a lot of admin stuff. It's a lot of in front of a computer.
If you're a nurse, we need you.
Yes.
Stomping Ground needs
Camp
you.
Stomping Ground website. But a lot of my job right now is a computer. It's at a desk. And the theater kid in me, and Laura knew this so well, I crave being on stage. I crave being in front of people. I do not want to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. So Laura saw that and immediately went, here's this organization where you can do anything with these kids who have a lot of passion. That was like the mission I took on. And U Squared right now, we're like redefining what it is and like what is it? What do we want to do with it? And like we're in the big like anything is possible vision. And I'm taking the core like improv like lesson in life of just the yes and. I told the kids the other night, I was like, my mission in my job is to just be your yes and. Like you're bringing me all these crazy ideas and you might require insurance and permits and a lot of things that you have no idea about. Let's figure it out together. Right. Let's just say yes. Like
I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say, okay, we got to go to an insurance agency and talk about short-term production insurance now. Yeah.
Like right now, the U Squared kids are really passionate about putting on a 5K run somewhere in Saratoga. They're aiming for like Labor Day or Memorial Day in May. And they just came to us with the idea of like, we know we can get a lot of our high school friends to come to this. Maybe they'll donate. Daniel, Laura, what's next? Like, we're going to take on finding the next steps, but like, we just need your resources. We need your help. And U Squared's like their ability to fund things. And so that's like right now what U Squared is. It is their idea. They want to put on a 5K run to bring community together, to put the proceeds towards like organizations in the community that fund mental health and just like support that. Another thing is like there's 2 girls in the organization who are like really deeply in love with science. And they met with me 2 weeks ago and they said, Daniel, like we want to plan something in the summer, like almost a like vacation Bible school, but for science. Like we just want kids to come for four hours every, like Monday to Friday. And we're going to run something. We're going to make experiments. We're just going to like do science fair stuff with them.
So
and they're going to
cool.
present to their parents. And I said, girls, the summer is a crazy time for me. And I could not be involved, but we're going to plan this and we're going to do it. And we're going to figure out, there's a lot of logistics that have to go into it.
Yeah.
And I told them that, but like the idea that these girls are just so in love with this idea. And like, I can see it in their eyes. They're like, I want to make this work. We want to be in front of kids. We just want to share our love for something, kind of like what my LIT manager taught me. My position for U Squared as the camp director Stomping Ground is just like, let's do it. Let's figure it out. I don't know I'll call insurance. I'll figure out where we're doing it. I'll connect with people. But it's like the core idea of Stomping Ground. It's the making mistakes. Could these girls run this program and no kids show up? Or, could it be crazy and they do an experiment and I don't know, like, all the foam gets all over the floor.
You almost
in like
said blows up, but you didn't mean blows up.
No.
Nothing will blow up.
But like foam falls all over the floors. And like,
elephant toothpaste.
It's like crazy. And it's like, wow, all the experiments didn't work out. Like that, sure, that could happen. But then they'll learn and they'll go, oh, okay, so that didn't work. Next week, we're going to do it this way. Or, this was our pilot. We learned so much about ourselves from teaching this class. Next year, we're going to step up our game and do it this way. Same with the 5K. Maybe we'll get, 50 people to show up for it. Maybe we'll have to, this year, permit it out with the city and figure it all that way. And it's a bigger logistical kind of planning structure. But then next year they learn and then they know how to do it. We just want the kids who have passion to make mistakes, to learn, and then realize that they're the adults. There's no adults.
They're the
they
board,
can just do
right?
it.
Like the kids are on the board of the organization. It's all, It's just that being able to see you piggyback off of the success of Stomping Ground and the lessons you've learned there and the lessons that you've taken with you from your time in camp as a kid. Like you have been, since I've known you, absolutely the perfect person to shepherd this experience and then grow and see the kids take that next step and actually take action in their communities. It's really, really amazing. And I'm very, very happy to know you and very happy to be now a part of Stomping Ground. I just joined the board of Stomping Ground a couple weeks ago. And so
I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with you guys, and I grew up going to Boy Scout camp, and so the fact that Stomping Ground is an old Boy Scout camp as well, and it's 10 minutes from my house, and so there's so many good reasons why. So I'm pumped to dive into it with you. How can parents out there get their kids involved with both of these programs?
Oh, that is a great question for two different reasons. For U Squared, just reach out and have your kid join, or see if there's an event that we're going to do that they can, pop in and see. I think for one, U Squared is an incredible resume piece for these young kids and college applications and references. But beyond that, I think when people think of social action, they think that you either have to know so much about it. And one of the things that I tell these new kids in the interview is what we're doing with U Squared is as simple as, it's my favorite question I ask them is, what's something that's currently hurting your heart? What is something that you're seeing in the community that you're saying, it does not feel right to me. I don't believe in that. And I want to see something happen different. Why isn't somebody doing something about that? You can go do something about that.
Right.
We can have your back to go do something about that. So if you know a kid, whether it's your kid or it's a neighbor who feels that there's something happening in our community that's wrong, or they are hurt by people walking past somebody who doesn't have a home on the street, have them reach out and join the organization. And that feeling of something's wrong right now is what we need in this organization. So that way we can just kind of take that passion and turn it into a project. And that project can help our community or help people in need. And just, we need creative minds. For Stomping Ground, I think whether it's a very similar situation, if you have a kid who needs just kind of a new experience, or you want them to get out of the house for the summer, or you just kind of want them to spend time with kids who are different from them, or they've never been around kids from these communities, send them to camp. We have a majority of our camp is 2 weeks long. We do also have like a 1 week mini option. I know 2 weeks can feel like a lot for people who have never kind of been to camp, but reach out, send your kid to camp. We have financial support. So if money is a barrier, like we're happy to be flexible and work with you. It's absolutely not. That as well as if you are ever a camper, just like you love what camp can do for people, we are a nonprofit. So, find ways to be involved. We have like a day of giving every June. We love to put out content online. But more so, I think for both organizations, whether you send them to U Squared or to camp, like be the adult that you needed when you like were wishing for somebody to come like swoop you up when you were a kid and you were struggling, or you had a vision that nobody believed in. Just be that for some kid in your community, because there's a ripple effect that, it could affect somebody at camp or in U Squared. Like you never know who you know or what you can say can change someone's life. So just be the adult that you wish you had. I think is the best way you could indirectly support.
Because you never know, that kid can grow up 20 years later and become the executive director of one of the best camps in the country.
Yep.
So, Daniel, I love you, buddy.
I love you.
Thank you so much for coming and being here. This is Daniel Swain Brown and Spencer Sherry signing off of The Good Stuff.
Thank you.